Hi everybody, I'm Aryan Rasoulipour. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I want to talk about the cognitive linguistic and one of its subcategories fields, which is language in universe or in the other word, universal language in time and space. Okay, let's me start it. For cognitive linguists, language universal are part of our general cognitive endowment. Embodied cognitions constraints or experiences which makes our sensory perception limited in both in kind other organisms have different sensory systems in the other words, for example echolocation, interoception, and Vermo's nasal system, and also in a scale, or in the other word, if I want to explain it elaborately, hearing and sight only works with a certain frequencies. For example, we can't say anybody anytime anywhere ever that I can see gamma rays in this room. I can see infrareds in this room. Or I can hear the ultrasonic sounds from out of this house window. It's impossible at all. This limits what we experiences and the concepts we can express. We can't conceptualize the expressions or sensing of pheromones. And human perceptions universals may have many numerous sensory systems for perceiving the world and themselves. For example, exteroception systems, or which refers to senses which perceive their external world, and interoception systems also which monitoring the internal states of our bodily systems, and also, as I want to add here, the perceptions or proprioception systems that are referring totally to senses of relationship between parts of our body only inside our body, and kinesthesia, the sense of movement. For example, you can remember in your mind like kinesthetic energy. Kinesthesia means refer to movement. And then introspective experiences, which is in additional to sensory experience, we also have internal subjective introspective experiences relating to concepts like emotions, time, and consciousness, and also conscientiousness. We shall see later that introspective concepts are predominantly conceptualized and expressed in the terms of concepts like temperature and space, which derive from basic sensory experiences at all. We already know we unconsciously create structures out of raw perceptual input data based on Gestalt principles, which thus constrains our experiences. Figures or drawn distinction are ability which we can automatically allows us identify a predominant and prominent objects or figures from the background or drawn informations. By using probability cues like edge segmentations. If the figures or drawn boundary can be assigned in either direction, so we can perceive more than introspectional and interpretational of a sense. Gestalt principles, in the other word, is the fundamental principle of Gestalt perception of which is prognose that we order or perception based on regularity, simplicity, and asymmetry. There are four types of Gestalt principles: proximity, similarity, closure, and continuity. Conceptualization of a space, as Tolmes, a common, well known linguist in 2000, detailed Disgust of the conceptualize of a space proposes that spatial and sense are configured with three parameters: the distinction of figures from ground, proximity of the figures to the ground, and the location of the figure to the ground based on reference frame. These are reflected linguistically. And about the spatial reference frames, many different references frame can be used to specify the figure's location with respect to the ground. Okay, ground-based or in interesting frames based on secondary objects, and also field-based and absolute one, and also projector-based one, which are relative to the speakers, and guidepost based. But now I want to discuss about linguistic variation. What is linguistic variation in this field? Although the conceptualization of a space seems to be universal, based on Levision and Wilkins in 2006 point of view, these are major differences in linguistic realization. Not all language use all frames references. It's a fact based on this researchers' work. Languages encode locative constructions using not only perceptions but also um, case marketing, place marking, and spatial nouns. Different locative verbs depending on the shape, functions, and figure, which we can distinguish spatialized predicates which precisely orients the figures and ground. Absolute reference is other terms we should notify and notice here. Speakers of Australian language go about um, Gugu Yemitier, as I don't know whether I pronounce it well because it's a indigenous language in Australia. It's considered in the studies of the Revision 1997, and Varva, which is considered and studied by Mac Kruger, the prominent other prominent linguists in 2006, use absolute frames of reference for almost all spatial events. For example, the fork lies to the south. My north arm. Okay, is these terms and phrases common in your language or in English? For example, can I say this microphone is located and directed to southeast? Or I can say either it's directed to my right wing. Okay. In most of the languages like English, we usually say the microphone is on my right side. But in this indigenous languages in Australia, they are usually say it's the microphone, for example, is located or is placed in my northeast, southeast, sorry, or northeast. Anyway, whether it's in northeast or southeast. Okay, and now the question is that why these languages are such that? Because they are very dependent on navigation, their culture. So they are necessarily, absolutely, they are astonishing in navigating ability in their culture society. So it's affect and influence their language in the other. It's the impact of their indigenous life. And absolute frames don't have to be based on compass direction, but often ecological topology where the communities lives, as I mentioned before. And Jamingjung, main river upstream, downstream. It other examples of this language is by Schultz Bernard, 2006. And Zilletal, it's the other word in their language in Australia, which means main mountain range, uphill, downhill, which reflects by Brown in 2001. And Yeli Tini, island topology, which is central main mountain watt or peripheral sea watt, which reflects by and explained, sorry, by the Levision 2006. Exact again. But time is represented as a space. We frequently, always, or in sometimes, in most, not always, but most of the time, represent time in terms of location in the space, in our languages, particularly in English. And the passage of time in terms of movement through a space. For example, if we imagine here, now we are here. Past is a space behind us, and present is like a space ahead of us, and future also, a space far away ahead of us. For example, we say the summer has been and gone. The summer has been and gone. The war is behind us. We live in the 21st century. In 21st century, we are here. We are living at 3 o'clock. We are living at 3 o'clock. At 3 o'clock, and let's look ahead to next year. Next year, in future, and cognitive models of time in English are three larger scale cognitive models, as want to discuss here, have been identified for the conceptualization of time in English. For example, one model is that the deadline is coming up. In the moving model, the experiencer in a statistic temporal events are conceptualized as an object in motion. And the moving ego, in the moving ego model, time is a landscape through the ex- experiences moves. For example, in this model, moving ego, experiences are walking through from past to the future as a walker, as a car, as an object that is kinetically moved. And in temporal sequences model, events are conceptualized occurring in order. For example, we'll run into the deadline in that model. Other conceptualization of time is about, like, although this conceptualization seems very natural and obvious to English speakers, other languages use subtly, typically different models technically. In Aymara, it's a language. A moving time model is also used, but it's oriented the other way around. For example, the future is coming to that experiences in their language. Future is coming, deadline is coming to them. The past in front of experiencer, and the past contains things can be seen in Aymara model. But in Western model, we, we are going from the past to the future. But in Aymara language, we are moving from past to the future. We are as experiences move ourselves. And the future is behind the experiences. The future is invisible and unknown for them. And the conceptualization of time is based on Evans 2004 work, draws a distinction between primary lexical concepts, which are based perceptual mechanism and processes, secondary lexical concepts, which are culturally specific construct. There are key primary lexical concepts related to time: duration, movement, event, and instance. They are combined and integrated to each other to create a larger cognitive models to conceptualize time. And about duration, it relates to subjective experiences of time as passing more slowly than expected. For example, we are protracted a long time ago, passing or passing more quickly than expected. In temporal comparison, and moment refers to experience of time as a series of the sacred moments. Now is the time of the event, refers to occurrences which happen at the period of time. His time had come. An instance refers to the events being compared to each other or viewed as the same time event. He did it for fourth time. And lexical items. Other temporal events, such as Christmas, can exhibit in these temporal aspects of scales. Either its duration, for example, Christmas vised past, or moment. Christmas is finally here, like now, an event. He hated Christmas, or instance. This is the fourth Christmas we spent in Scotland, for example, or United Kingdom. Events in 2013 has developed a taxonomy of temporal references analogous to the spacious frames and which are based on the event being fixed in time, such as figures and reference point, or in the other word, referencing objects, and the origo, the experience which anchor the reference point to the type of transience which is being referred to. Evans' taxonomy of temporal reference frames are origo, which diachetic, egno, egocentric experience of now, in the sequential form is the first event in a sequence, and in extrinsic is absolute. In the type of transience, diachetic is apostrophe, in sequential frame is succession, and in the extrinsic is duration. And in temporal relations, diachetically is future, present, and past, but in sequential is earlier, later. An heuristic is a matrix. It's a matrix at all. It's a like calendar. And in linguistic example, for diachetic, we can say Christmas is coming. Christmas has gone. It's already gone. Really is already gone. Believe me. And sequential is Christmas is before hegemony. Christmas before the New Year. And pre-cynic is Christmas 2023. And about universal terms, I will be discuss it later in the next video podcast. That's it. Thank you for attending on my YouTube channel, but don't leave this page. Please don't forget to like this video, subscribe my channel, and push the notification for further video that I will upload through this channel to be notified. Until the next time, farewell, good luck, and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.